Hi there everybody, this is David, and I've got to say the holiday shopping season is quickly upon us. And what could possibly be better to get somebody than a game as a fun gift this holiday season? So here, I do want to talk about all the best games that have been released this year and list them kind of in release order that definitely do need to be on your shopping list. And I do think that that's worth a sub, as I do try my hardest to 100,000 subscribers. And with your help, your like, and your sub, I just know that I can get there. But first, before we do get to this list, we have a word from our sponsor, which is definitely another game that you're really going to want to purchase for yourself or as a gift for your loved one. This video is sponsored by beloved Rapture, released on the PC for Steam and GOG. Featuring gorgeous pixel art, this is an indie RPG inspired by SNES classics just like Final Fantasy VI, Chrono Trigger, and even Lufia 2. With turn-based combat, no random encounters whatsoever, and beautiful landscapes filled to the brim with secrets, this is a throwback in all the right ways. With 6 total playable characters to recruit, and an equipment system that isn't just like weapon, armor, and accessory, as well as no forced grinding, it is a total treat. I can guarantee that you're going to love this mid-length adventure, which balances both an intimate coming-of-age story, as well as a larger-than-life threat looming over the troubled kingdom. With very positive reviews on Steam, this classic RPG exploring trauma, friendship, and undying love will leave you with a lasting impression. If this sounds as good to you as it does to me, be sure to click the links below to learn more. And right now you can purchase this game and its soundtrack for you and your loved one for 15% off up until December the 4th. And now, let's get on back to the video. With number 1, Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth. The Yakuza series has definitely found a new fan in me. I've been aware of them ever since the PS2 era, but I never really got into the games until Yakuza Like a Dragon, where it went fully turn-based, and it had a job system, and best of all, it had like a million different tongue-in-cheek Dragon Quest jokes. This time though, Ichiban finds himself over in Hawaii, where he and his old friends meet up with the Yakuza staple Kiryu. This is the first Yakuza game not set in Japan, and the job system is fully rebalanced, along with a ton of different really cool fun side quests, including a full Pokemon-like game, as well as a town-building quest too. There's almost like 3 different games in one here. It's just amazing. Number 2, Granblue Fantasy Relink. Dude, this game is dope. Not only is it filled to the brim with super sexy hot guys, but it's also an absolutely glorious, beautiful world. And to say the graphical style is breathtaking is an understatement. But the real fun here lies in the combat, where each party member has their own distinct playstyle and unique element. So, well, yeah, you can just choose your favorite heroes here. You're really meant to play around with all the various characters and get to know their ins and outs in order to strategize against these brutal encounters. This is kind of like Skies of Arcadia meets the Mana series, as you fight, battle, and explore a multitude of sky islands while taking part in airship warfare. I do just have to say that I do wish that they had a true world map, just like pull it all together, but otherwise, this is definitely still a must play. Number 3, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Well, Remake took place fully within Midgar, which to me is the worst part of the game. Rebirth begins over in Calm Village and takes you all the way up through the Temple of the Ancients, which easily has some of those memorable and exciting scenes in the game. And while Remake could be a little bit on rails and linear, Rebirth instead made the world explode wide open. And I am not exaggerating when I say that some of these areas are larger than areas in the Xenoblade series, and they're just chock full of different sights to see and things to do. I love getting more background and lore on the world and the characters that I know and love, and I seriously just cannot wait for the 3rd installment, which I really do think is going to kind of like play out kind of like a Final Fantasy VI World of Ruin sort of thing. Number 4, Unicorn Overlord. There really aren't all that many real-time strategy RPGs out there, and there's even less good ones. Honestly, there's really only like the Ogre Battle series, the Growlancer series, and the DQ3 Chronicle come to mind as far as the good ones. Otherwise, for the most part, they're kind of pretty janky. Unicorn Overlord, though, surpasses even the best real-time strategy games that I've ever played. This here really is the creme de la creme, and where the world is absolutely gorgeous and the storyline is riveting, the gameplay actually lies in the micromanagement of your teams, making sure that all their gambits and equipment are set up properly so they all synergize together with one another. Combat is lightning fast, and there's just like a boatload of things to do here, so just get ready to lose yourself in this one. Number 5, Eiyuden Chronicles 100 Heroes. Can you say Suikoden 6 in all but name? Because that's really what this gem is. It just blew me away. I felt like I was back on the PS2 playing another great Suikoden game because everything that I loved from that great series is here. From the 6-person battles, to the unique leveling system, to the front and the back rows, the quirky characters, the runes, the blacksmith, and even a glorious world map. If you're a fan of old school RPGs at all, then you definitely owe it to yourself to check this one out because it is worth every single last penny. And don't let anybody else tell you that it's short either because fake news. The main storyline alone will take you upwards of 30 hours, and double that if you want to get all the characters. There's just so much to do here. Number 6, Legend of Heroes Trails Through Daybreak. You would be hard-pressed to find a bigger Trails fan than me. I have played literally every single entry in the series that's been translated into English, including Legend of Heroes Dragon Slayer back on the TurboGrafx 16 and the Gagharv trilogy. I mean, I even Let's Played them on my channel, so maybe I am a little bit biased here, but it's just so exciting to me to finally leave Reen and his stupid little harem in the dust, and instead head on over to Calvard, where we finally get to play as an adult, who can make morally questionable choices with the alignment system, not to mention a mixture of real-time and turn-based combat, greatly speeding up dungeon exploration. The sequel is coming out early next year, and I would definitely put good money to say that we would get Kai no Kiseki by the end of 2025 as well. Number 7, Visions of Mana. I love the Mana series, especially the first few games in it. You know, before they started up that whole world of Mana garbage and got all experimental with it. This here is a return to form and it's back to the basics, and it's really showcasing that Square is learning that all their newfangled weirdo stuff is not what we want. We want these basics. We want what worked. They're learning this with their HD 2D remakes. They're learning this with Star Ocean the Divine Force and Triangle Strategy and even Dragon Quest Monsters the Dark Prince, as well as Dragon Quest HD 2D Remake. They've definitely gone off the deep end for a while, but this here is a true return to form, not just for the Mana series, but for Square Enix themselves. This is a Mana game where you explore massive open regions and use the Mana Spirits to help you in combat as well as exploration. With a great party full of diverse characters and the cutest little pickle that I've ever seen, this just brought me straight back to my childhood. Number 8, Metaphor ReFantasio. Another Atlas title, another banger! Taking great inspiration from both Shin Megami Tensei and Persona, this is set in a medieval fantasy realm where the king is dead, which sets off a contest of sorts, where anybody can become the next king. But you have a limited amount of time to convince the populace that you are worthy of the crown, which is especially hard because you're also an Elda, who's an outcast tribe. The world is full of imagination and life. The combat also uses a mixture of active and turn-based combat, and, most important to me, there was a glorious job system that is deep, complex, and involved. I even had to get out my notebook for this one, and play it like I used to have to play RPGs back in the day with a pen and paper beside me. Number 9, Ys 10 Nordics. I adore the Ys series. I have played every single entry in the series, including all 3 versions of Ys 4, and the 10th entry is just as fun as the rest. Here though, Adol is shockingly not shipwrecked. He's instead boarded by pirates where the captain slaughtered in front of his eyes, and he is rerouted to Obelia Gulf. Maybe it might have been better for him to actually be shipwrecked, but whatever. Whenever he's there, he sets off to explore all the islands on his very own ship, along with a psychotic bitch who killed the captain because they're bound by fate together. And then he ends up liking her, even though she murdered the guy in cold blood, but whatever. The combat is a whole lot of fun, as are the mana abilities, where you'll be swinging around like Tarzan or surfing up through the skies. I just do wish that they would shut some of these NPCs up and let me go off battling though. Number 10, Romancing Saga 2, Revenge of the Seven. I love the SaGa series. I always have ever since I first played the very first entry back on the Game Boy. And while we never did receive the Romancing Saga series in the West until much later on, I definitely played the heck out of them when they finally did reach our shores. This, though, is a ground-up remake of the original game created by the same team that created the Trials of Mana remake, and it definitely shows. Just as Trials of Mana took everything that was great about Seiken Densetsu 3 and elevated it up to a whole other level, this does the exact same thing to Romancing Saga 2. It has been completely streamlined, nothing is a mystery, and it's almost like playing an old school Final Fantasy game. It's really that good. Number 11, Dragon Quest III HD2D Remake. I might sound like a broken record at this point with all the videos that I made about this game, but I love it! I've been a huge fan of the Dragon Quest series ever since I was 7 years old, and I played the very first one back on my NES. And I got the third entry when I was in 4th grade, and I just played like the bejesus out of it, with just about every single job combination that you could possibly think of. This is a classic turn-based RPG set in a kind of like fantasy interpretation of the real world, and it's chronologically the first in the Erdrick trilogy. Not only that, this version introduces a brand new job class, the really cool monster arena, as well as new scenes, bosses, and vignettes detailing Ortega's journey. And finally, number 12, Fantasian Neo Dimension. Call it future-proofing, call it whatever, because this game isn't out yet, but we all know that it's going to be really good, and I am playing it anyway, so I'm going to include it. I got an early copy, what can I say? This here is pretty much Final Fantasy in all but name, as it was created by the original developer of the Final Fantasy series. And while this was released quite some time ago, I didn't get the chance to play it back then because, who actually has Apple Arcade? I know that I don't, but now that I do have a chance to play it with added quality of life improvements, such as like a difficulty level that isn't astronomically off the charts, it's a really good game. The battles here are turn-based, and what's cool about them is that you can kind of like bank all the battles together into a separate dimension, and then battle all the enemies at one time, using these kind of like arcing moves to attack multiple monsters. All the various areas are super unique too because they're based upon real-world dioramas as well. This here is a definite must-play for the Christmas season. So that's it for the best RPGs released in 2024 that you need to have on your holiday shopping list. And I've got to ask you, what are your favorite RPGs that released this year? Did I miss any? Let me know in the comments and let's all talk and chat about it. And if you do like this video, here's another video going over some really awesome RPGs that you've just got to check out. So please do click on over to that, and as always, have a good day.